Hey guys, welcome back to Pharaoh Iron and Customs. This is going to be the February 6th installment of FebUdaily. I think the 6th. Yeah, February 6th. And what I'm doing today is I'm going to get these knives hardened and get the handles put on them and shaped, probably finished. It's going to take me a couple of days to get this done, so all this, I'm going to be honest, this is not going to take one day to do everything that needs to be done, because the epoxy for the handles, I'm going to let it sit overnight. Even with a 5-minute epoxy, what I found is that it does not get hard enough to grind the pins. The pins will get hot and cause the epoxy to break down if you do not let it fully cure. So what's going to happen in this video to begin with is I've got to make a quench tank for that knife. I have this piece of 3x3, I think it is, that was hanging out in my collection of miscellaneous steel. I found the piece of flat and I've scribed it the same as the inside. Looks like I'm about to run out of room on my hard drive, so we're gonna get this knocked out and cut down. Alright guys, I'm gonna attempt to TIG weld this. I don't have a lot of TIG gas. I got the fit up pretty good. It's not really great in the corners. So I just really want to fusion weld it. Stick in the stick. Alright guys, I got that all welded up. I had to break out the MIG welder and finish up that corner because the TIG ran slam out of gas. And it looks pretty good, man. I can weld about 3 or 4 inches with the TIG welder before I start screwing up really badly. So I just need more practice. Alright guys, thankfully that didn't take any more oil than what I already had, which is awesome. My regulator is a little knackered in my forge. I had to pull the back side out to heat the whole length of that long blade. So what we're doing is just bringing this up above critical and trying to heat it on both sides evenly. Just keeping an eye on the colors. You won't be able to see it in the camera, probably, but it's going to be orange, and you got to move quick because we're going to lose the heat in the edge really fast, and that's where you want your strength to be. That's where you want your that's where you're going to want your that's where you're going to want your hardness to be, is in that edge. You got to have the hardness in the edge. The spine really doesn't even have to be hard at all. And we're going to harden it. That's one. And let's pull it out. We have just a little bow in the blade. You have just a few seconds after the blade gets hard to get to the vise and try to get it straight. And all that is from it was not 100% heated evenly. We're trying to bring the temperature up on this long blade, and that's just going to take a lot of working back and forth. Where we're looking for a critical temperature is where the metal, just beyond where the metal no longer will attract itself to a magnet. Like I said, we want to get it all even. Go in the quench. Woo! That is why I put a glove on, folks. That is why I put a glove on. And we come out. That knife went just the other way a little bit. Okay, I've got that one fairly straight. All right, now this is going to be the fun one. We got to work it in and out of the fire. Guys, it's taking a good bit of time to get the heat in this blade. I can foresee that if I'm going to make long blades like this, I'm going to have a 3 or 4 burner forge just to heat these blades up. Because the blade is so thin that it's hard to get the whole thing hot. Now, 5160 is extraordinarily forgiving steel. It likes to be hard. It will go hard under a drill bit, which is, if anybody's ever tried to drill a leaf spring, they will know that it is near impossible. Even after you have annealed it, it likes to be hard. I think they said that, read somewhere that it likes to be in a drill press that is approximately 100 RPMs is what they want to drill that on when it's fully annealed, so it doesn't go hard underneath the heat of the drill. So we're going to go for it. And if this thing isn't shaped like a pretzel when I pull it out, I'll be absolutely surprised. Alright, let's see what we got. Wow, it's got one little whoop-de-doo in the middle. I do not believe it. All right, guys, I grabbed a different pair of tongs. Grab a file. Now what you see is, if you look right there, that's what they call martensite. That's a good indication that the blade got hard. Yeah, that's skating. It may be digging a little here, but this is going to be a pig sticker, so it just really needs to be hard on the end. So, and matter of fact, you can see that this end didn't get hard. I'm gonna have to do something different about my forge. But I'm gonna clean these up. We're gonna put them in the oven for an hour to temper them back, because I dare say if you drop this on the floor, it would probably break. And then we'll come back. All right, guys, I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna handle this knife. I have 3 sets of scales laid out here that I ordered for these. These are walnut handle scales. And if you ever hear me say book matched in a video, you can see that these 2 pieces of wood were like that at one point, and when they were sawn, you can put them together and the grain lines up. And I have decided to put it on the knife in the way that I think gonna look most interesting, where the most of the blackness of the walnut will show and the grain. And that's, you know, the thing about being a maker is, you know, you have the opportunity to do things the way that you want to do them. I've got a couple of pins ready to go, brass pins, 3/16 holes. I've already beveled the front edge, because you're not going to be able to get to the front edge when you're putting the knife, after you put the knife together. You won't be able to get to this edge to shape it. So the least amount of work you have to do there, the better. I've just got a little epoxy here that I'm mixing up. This is probably, I don't know, it's probably about right. It may be a little much for what we're doing, but it wouldn't hurt for me to go ahead and use what I have up and get some fresh anyway. I'm not sure what the shelf life is. So, like I said, you just mix it like you're mixing Bondo. Also, I'd like to note that you want to treat this, if you're one of the guys that are watching my car stuff, you treat this just like you do Bondo. You want to give yourself a nice scratch to etch into on the blade side, so that the epoxy will, like I said, it will tooth into the wood, and you want the wood and the metal to bond. The pins on this are not what's going to actually hold the blade. You want to put a little bit of epoxy on the pin. The pins are not what's going to hold this. The pins just keep it in place and more of a decorative thing. You can get pins that are actually will give you some structural value, or be able to help hold the scales in. I'm going to put a little more right there. There's a couple of holes. I'm going to have to mix up just a little more, I think. I'm going to throw a little extra up there. And these scales just barely fit on this blade. I actually had a larger set of scales that almost got put on here, but these will work. And that's one of the things I don't like sometimes about ordering pre-made blanks. You know, if you're working on something that's got an odd shaped handle, it might take a little more than what you yeah, let me go and mix up just a little more really quick, I hope, before that kicks. And I did think this was not the 5-minute, but it is the 5-minute epoxy that I'm using. But with that being said, I will let this cure out until tomorrow sometime before I try to go ahead and mess with this, because it doesn't cure out fast enough that it will hold properly. Let's see. Goes like that. Just trying to make sure I got adequate coverage. Get some down in those holes. I actually had trouble drilling this piece of steel. I mentioned earlier that this will go hard under the drill, even if it's annealed. 5160 will go hard while you're drilling it. And this actually went hard on me while I was drilling it in a couple of spots. Alright, let's see. Now, this is what I do. I don't worry terrible amount about the squish out around the pins and stuff, because you're going to grind those areas, but I do go ahead and put at least 3 or 4 clamps on it. And like I said, the epoxy is what is going to give you your fit up on this, and that needs to move just a little bit. There we go. Like I said, I'm going to have to shave just a little bit off of the back of the handle of the knife, because I got that a little close. There's an old saying that knife makers don't make mistakes, they make smaller knives. I thought that was kind of funny. I've made plenty of mistakes, and I got a long way to go to learn, folks. So anyway, like I said, I'm just going to pop another couple of clamps on here, and that may not be wide enough. Y'all have another couple of clamps. Those aren't wide enough. Like I said, you just want to spread out your clamping force. Actually, I'm going to move that one because I don't like the way it just clamped that. You want this tight. You don't want any gaps in there. And most anything you do with wood, you want the lamination to be tight so that it doesn't come back apart. Let's see. Got something going on outside of here, an engine running. Kind of weird, it's January, shouldn't be any tractors. So that is that epoxied up, and the other two I'll do exactly the same way, and we'll come back tomorrow when we get into working on shaping these handles. Alright guys, I did find another 36 grit belt. What I'm getting into right now is I just take and get some emery cloth and try to smooth out those transitions to make it feel nice in the hand. Alright guys, I've wiped these, got them sanded down. I've wiped them down with acetone. I'm going to give them a linseed oil finish. I was going to tell you about the Kukri. I know the knife, this video really isn't about this knife. The red here is Paduke. Paduke is a very oily wood. You have to put a sealer on it if you're going to put a varnish over it. I learned that the hard way when I painted the guitar. It took about 3 weeks for the first coat to dry to where it wasn't tacky. Also, if you can see, this rag is orange. It will, when you wipe the wood down, it will smear that color into the other woods. Another thing about it is that Padauk will actually, eventually, it's going to go about the same color as the walnut. So be aware if you're building anything with Padauk that it will not, if it's left in the sunlight, it will not hold that color forever, and you may have to sand it and refinish it again to get it back to the red Padauk color. So we're going to put several layers of linseed oil on these handles. Something to note about linseed oil is that it will actually combust on a rag. If you leave it on a rag, it will actually spontaneously combust with no form of ignition. So usually what I will do with a rag after I've done, especially if the forge is running, I'll just throw the rag or the paper towel over in the forge and let it burn. Go ahead and let it burn up. But what I will probably do with this one, since it's a wet, rainy day, I'm going to dunk it in a I'm going to dunk it in a bucket of water and just let it soak some water. Or I may burn it. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Get a little more on that one. There weren't quite enough. I always like linseed oil over walnut. If you can tell, that's got a really cool grain to it. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on the finish on these knives because they're going to be used as kitchen knives. They're going to be used to slaughter hogs with. So they're going to see a pretty abused life. As a matter of fact, the guy that wanted me to make these knives for him, his last knives, he broke them all. So he broke them all trying to split a breastbone on a hog. So we're just going to run with this. I'll switch up, put a layer over here on the Kukri. Like I said, this is just the wood I had laying around when I decided to make a handle for the Kukri. I had actually ordered some G10, and it was only 1/8 thick when I got it. So, maybe the next one. I'm not exactly sure where we're going to go so far as this Kukri goes. I don't think I'm going to try to sharpen it today. The edge on it is I did this on freehand on my contact wheel, which means it's got a curve, and I know it's really probably hard to see, but you cannot sharpen that on a flat platen. It's just not possible because of the reverse curve in the knife. Another thing I learned by making a Kukri. Also, something if I'm sharpening a blade, the sharpening is the very last part of making a knife. If you try to sharpen it before you do the finish or the finishing work, you run a higher risk of cutting yourself. So I'm going to soak several layers of this in, and then we're going to get on to sharpening these. Alright guys, it's been a couple of days and we're getting edges put on, and we're starting out with a 36 grit. I did have another belt the other day, by the way. I'm going on the slack side of the belt. Okay guys, to be fair, I actually went back and did a little steeper bevel, primary bevel on these, since there'll be a cutting knife. I'm really happy with that. I wasn't getting the edge on them I wanted, and he's going to have to be able to sharpen these over time, so I went ahead and put a little bit sharper edge on them. And over. Ain't perfect. I know he can do a better job of sharpening than I can, because he was a professional yeah, they're pretty sharp. Anyway. This one, I didn't put that much of an edge on. I don't think it'll do that with paper. We can try it though. Yeah. I didn't work hard on this edge, on this knife, because it's, like I said, it's going to be, it's not going to be for cutting. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. So, but that's it. I'm going to probably finish up the Kukri maybe in a few days on a different video. I'm going to get this to the customer tomorrow. And I know he'll be tickled over that. His son said that they had a hog to slaughter coming up in the next few weeks. So, let's see. So that's going to get that straightened out. I'm going to get that little bit done, and we are going to be able to get on Valerie's car after that. And I got a couple of shop projects that I will probably do in February. I don't know if I'm going to make all of February daily. I'm going to tell you that. It's been a struggle. Today has been the first day I've been able to really get out in the shop in several days where my knee hasn't been bothering me. So we're going to do what we got to do to continue on with that. Anyway, let me do a little brief description of what I got going on here. This is a grinder. It's a 6-inch bench grinder, Harbor Freight. I got the one on the bench down there exactly like it with the stones on it and the wire wheel on the other side. And what I've done, and I'm going to go back and probably make some 7-inch circles, just cut them out with my probably just cut them out with my router and my circle jig, and then I can put them on here and take a woodworking tool. I have some woodworking tools, and turn it down to where it's smooth. And all that black is just polishing compound, and that just goes ahead and takes off any roughness that you have on the edge of the blade. And what I've done to make this is I took the base off of it and turned it 180 degrees. So normally a grinder will spin towards you to grind. This one actually spins away from you. I don't know if y'all can see that it spins away from you, and you can come along that with your knife without having to worry about the knife digging into the and you can see right there where I don't remember how I dug into it, but probably messed up and was trying to sharpen a knife that way. You've really got to think about this, because you can hurt yourself doing stuff, especially working with power tools and very sharp objects. So, but I want to make some bigger wheels for this, but that's just like using a strop. And I do have a strop over here that I use occasionally, but I usually use this, because this does a really good job of polishing the edge and it gets it done fast. And that's something I want to work on in the future, is getting better edges, putting better edges on knives. Like I said, I know that he can sharpen these better than I can, because he was a professional butcher at one point. So that's something I really want to work on. I mean, because sometimes I can take a knife and I can get it so scary sharp that you just, you know, feel the edge of it and you're like, that's so sharp, you know. and that's where I want to be in my knife making skills. But anyway, I appreciate you watching these knife making videos. If you stuck around to the end, leave a like and leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.